Thank everyone for coming tonight. This is our regular council meeting for May 14th. Tell me what, there she is. We're gonna put her on the spot as soon as she comes in. Councilmember Beth Russell will be doing the invocation and the pledge of allegiance.
Thank you for waiting on me. When you work, it's hard sometimes. We ready for that?
Let's do
Let's
it.
stand. Our Heavenly Gracious Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this council. And we pray that you'll guide us and help us to make the right decisions for the town. Lord, we thank you for this community and the strength and the togetherness that it has. Be with us and continue to help us grow. We pray for our government, that you will guide them and help them to make the right decisions. Lord, I pray for the sick and afflicted. If it's your will, I pray that you will heal them. If it's not, I pray that if they don't know you, that you will lead them to you. Guide us and protect us. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Starting to salute the corner.
I think when they vacuum, they move the flag and it's yellow.
Mayor Pro Tem, Paul Rembrandt wanted to, they announced that he's sorry he couldn't be here tonight, but he had a, work conference that's been scheduled for over a year now, so he just wanted to let everyone know why he couldn't be here. Okay, now you have before you the, approval of the agenda. Anybody wants to make any changes or?
I'll make a motion, we approve the agenda as presented.
Have a motion
I'll second.
and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. That motion is carried unanimous. Approval of the regular meeting minutes and the closed session minutes.
I move that we approve the regular meeting minutes and the closed session minutes.
Have a motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. That motion is carried unanimous. Citizens' requests and comments.
Guys, will you check your mics, because all the hours look like they're off over here. Yours are fine, but Wesley's on, the rest of them are off. See if there's a button down there that's been pressed or something.
Yours is on, it's on green.
Yeah.
Yeah, yours is on green.
Didn't make him contact.
There we go. Plug it in. Just plug it in, mash down on the whole thing, no up there.
I don't know. Green light's down here, but it's not up here. I'll try to speak extra loud.
Me and Cameron don't say much, we'll share one.
Push it hard, man, push it hard. I got Wesley's on.
Well, come on, Me and technology.
There you go, bro.
Me and technology don't work, man.
That's them FedEx fingers, man.
At least I ain't the only one. See, Max showed me. I'm coaching.
We ain't lined it up. Everybody's green now, so we good.
Sorry about that.
I just wanted to give a quick update from the 2024 surplus auction. The auction was held Saturday, April 13th. There were 26 items to be sold at auction and 11 vehicles that were sold. All the items did sell, and the town collected just under $44,000 at that surplus auction.
There's another slush fund.
Hey, Samantha Saunders from the Maiden Business Association. I really don't have anything new going on other than the Job After Five starts this Friday. I think we've got everything in line, but we always expect glitches and we try to fix them as soon as we can. So if you see anything that can be fixed and is in our jurisdiction, let us know. We'll be wearing gray t-shirts with event staff on the back of it. We'll be running the beer garden. There's gonna be an inflatable slide, and I think everything else the town takes care of. They provide the tables and chairs, and they help us with the tent canopies too, so people can be in the shade if it's gonna be oppressive heat. An update for the business jamboree, the food truck business jamboree. It looked like it was a really good turnout. I had a brand new grandbaby, and so I chose to go meet him instead of being at the jamboree. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Anyone else that'd like to speak?
Which about the Job After Five, so I looked ahead at the forecast and it's calling for rain. And I know we have the band and all already scheduled, but will the show go on or?
Depending on how heavy the rain's coming down, we make that determination based off of safety of, and if there's lightning in the area and stuff like that. I will say the bands are booked 8 to 12 months in advance, so there's no rescheduling. And if they show up, you pay them. So, historically, if it looks like there's gonna be heavy rain or lightning, we cancel because there's no sense in spending several $1,000s on something that's not gonna happen. But that's a group decision. They, like one person decides that. We try to get together with public safety, business association, and myself. We all sat down and try to determine. I think we missed it one time. We canceled it, and there was a lightning storm, but it was north of us. And then we've had it a couple times, and it was a bad for us. So we tried to make the best decision we can, but there's no magic ball, unfortunately.
How late up do you make that decision? The reason I'm asking all the questions, we're doing food, so.
Yes, so we normally try to let the vendors know something by lunchtime, if not sooner.
Okay,
We try to, depending on how far the band's coming to, normally the bands would, if you give them 4 or 5 hours is what they're asked for. Sometimes we have to make it a little bit earlier depending on how far they're traveling. I do not know, I think this band's coming from Shelby, so it'll probably be around lunchtime.
okay, all right.
And I say think with a big T, cause I don't know that to be fact, but I'm pretty sure they come from Shelby.
You're spot on that, Josh. Kevin told me
Yeah.
late this afternoon, just let them know something by lunch on Friday.
They usually let us know in a timely manner as soon as possible. They
Okay.
usually do. Can you give us an update on the gospel night? I wasn't here for that one either.
Me and the mayor had a regional mayor managers meeting about the, and so me and him was at that meeting, but I understand that, it was the largest gospel night we've had in several years. We normally average around 20 people at gospel night. I think it was closer to 200 at this one, this is what I was told. So it turned out to be very well attended.
I have one question, and Todd, I don't know if this is for you, I don't know if it's for Blake, or if it's for our attorney, but I've had a lot of messages and comments, and I know everybody's watched the news about D.R. Horton and the kind of stink they're in right now in South Carolina. But do we have reason to be concerned that we are gonna end up with the
So-
same type situation
Yeah.
over here?
So the laws in North Carolina and South Carolina are different, building
Mhm.
codes are different. I cannot speak to South Carolina today. I do know when I was a licensed plumber and did plumbing code in South Carolina was way different than the North Carolina.
Different, better or worse?
No, worse.
Worse, okay.
Like, if the job wasn't over a certain number, you didn't even have to have license to do it.
Nice,
And it
okay.
was a high number, and that's South Carolina. I'm not throwing South Carolina under the bus, but I will tell you that each state's got different rules and got different inspectors. North Carolina, for the southeast, has some of the strictest building codes in the southeast. Now, above and beyond that, I can't speak anything above that as far as the building code goes. I do know that everything built in North Carolina has to be inspected by a building inspector.
It's just alarming to see a builder in our community going through lawsuits. That's the reason that I bring it up, and there's been a lot of questions, so I wanted to ask it in this forum
Yeah.
to see what the thought process was behind it for us.
And I will also say D.R. Horton's a national company, just like, so you'll have different people running from state to state. So I would highly doubt the same people are managing both sites, because there are different laws and different rules. However, saying all that, our zoning and planning stay on top of it, and so is the building inspector for the county.
I just want to say, I've been seeing a lot of children riding bikes, and I think that it was great for the police department to do with the county, with the kids, and I think the rec department. Just want to thank all departments for doing great work, especially with the kids, especially now, especially that age group too. So thank you.
And they had a pretty good turnout.
Yep.
Anyone else? If not, we're gonna go ahead to the consent agenda item, which consists of the finance officer's report for the month of April.
Make a motion, the finance officer's report be approved.
Have a motion?
A second.
And a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion is carried unanimous. New business, award of the bid Buffalo Shoals Water Line Project.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. This project's been talked about for quite a while now, so we're finally down to asking for award for the Buffalo Shoals Waterline Project. This does include new water service for East Cliff subdivision, as well as demolition and decommission of the water tank on East Maiden Road. Before you is a letter of recommendation. Staff does concur with our engineer at KCI to asking for award to the low bidder for Piedmont Utility Group for an amount of $1,402,884. This was a formal bid process. 4 bids were received as part of the process. And just to refresh your memory, this project is funded through the American Rescue Plan, ARPA money, via Catawba County. So I'll be glad to entertain any questions.
So I'll move that we award the bid of the Buffalo Shoals Waterline Project to Piedmont Utility Group.
Have a motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion is carried unanimous. Next, we have the award of bid West Finger Street Culvert Project.
Mayor, Council, representative from McGill and Associates is here tonight to explain the bid process that we went through for this project. And I'd like to introduce Matt from McGill and Associates.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Matthew Edding, and I'm with McGill Associates, and we've been the project engineer for the West Finger Street Extension Culvert Replacement Project, working in conjunction with Brian and the Public Works Department. And this project was bid through the informal bid process to where public advertisement is not required, as long as the thought is that the project would, the project value is less than $500,000. And that was the thought before the bid invitations were sent out. So bid invitations were sent out to 6 contractors that we felt were qualified to do the project. And a pre-bid meeting was held at the site on April 18th. And of those 6 invited contractors, 3 attended the pre-bid meeting. And then bids were opened on May 2nd. I should say bid was open because only 1 bid was received. But going through the informal bidding process, there is no minimum number of bids required to open. So the bid was open. The bid was submitted by Chad Sigmund Construction, and the bid amount was $469,800. And our recommendation is to go ahead and award that to Chad Sigmund Construction. Even though it is usually desirable to have more than 1 bid, that bid amount compared favorably to a similar project that we oversaw for the town of Sparta that involved replacing a culvert of similar size, similar length, similar construction, similar materials. And that bid compared very closely to the bid amount that was received for that project. Chad Sigmund Construction is appropriately licensed with the North Carolina General Contractors Board to serve as a general contractor on projects of this dollar amount. Brian might be able to speak to the level of urgency of this project, but West Finger Street serves as the only access to the town's wastewater plant. Accessing the plant, shipping and receiving materials, this route is crucial to keep open and keep access to the plant in order to keep the plant operating. And over the last several months, that culvert has been damaged by storm events and has needed repairs on several occasions on an emergency basis. Our opinion is that this is a necessary project to get completed.
Staff and McGill and Wesley have had extensive conversation this week about what went on with the bid process and how the procurement process involved there. We could rebid it, yes. Odds of us getting any more bids than what we got, probably not. If we do rebid, we're kicking the can on down the road probably 2 or 3 months, and in the meantime, we've got a sense of urgency to get this culvert replaced due to the ingress egress to our wastewater treatment plant. So that's kind of where we're at with the bid process.
Is Chad Sigmund? Yeah. Is he able to get to that pretty urgently? I mean, pretty
Yes,
quickly?
as soon as we award contract, Chad will order the material. It's probably 8 to 10 weeks out, I think is what he told us, at the bid opening. So as soon as material gets in, he will get on it. Chad has done extensive work with us here in the town, so we're familiar with his work, so.
I also would say McGill engineered this in such a manner that we use materials that was readily available, so to speed it up as fast as possible, because if we are to lose that culvert, we have no way to access the wastewater treatment plant without building a temporary road, and you're talking, instead of hundreds of thousands of dollars, you're talking adding another comma to this number. So I've actually been on McGill pretty hard the last couple of months to get this done, because we had some environmental stuff we had to work through. But as the manager, first of all, if we rebid it, I don't think Chad's number's gonna get any lower. He's the only bidder, so he's probably gonna add some for his trouble. And like you said, I don't think companies who have the equipment able to do this, there's not a lot of profit in this number, and so they can do work elsewhere to make more money. So I do not see us getting any more bids either.
Time frame on once the material comes in, what kind of time frame you looking at to do the job?
3 or 4 weeks. Yeah, that might be expedited a little quicker if we could work around a water line issue out there. It's gonna temporarily be relayed, but that will be discussion for the contractor once the project is awarded.
Now, that 3 or 4 weeks is to stabilize it. Complete job is gonna
Yeah.
be a little bit longer. But once we get the pipe in the ground and stabilize it, we can worry about if it looks pretty and if it's paved later, but just to get where the water goes under the road, 3 or 4 weeks. That's our goal right now.
So I'll make a motion that we award the bid of the West Finger Street Culvert Project to Chad Sigmund Construction.
I have a motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion is carried unanimous.
Yes.
Thank you.
Guys.
Thank you, guys.
All right, next we have the tax collection agreement.
I'll take this one, so Jess ain't gotta get up. Every so often, we have to, pass an agreement to allow Catawba County to collect our taxes. Postage went up, printing bills went up. We're talking, I think it went from $2 to $4. It's not a big increase. However, we have to do, every municipality in Catawba County has to approve this before July 1, or legally, they cannot collect our taxes.
Do a pretty good job, too.
Yeah, they do a pretty good job. We've averaged over 99% for a long time, so.
I make a motion that, we approve the tax collection agreement with Catawba County.
I have a motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor say aye. All opposed say no. That motion is carried unanimous. Now we're going into a public hearing for rezoning Kirk Wentz ZMA 2-2024.
Good evening, council. For you tonight is a rezoning request from Kirk Wentz on behalf of property owned by Nelson Knipe. This is to rezone the property at 200 Providence Mill Road, right there next to Brookwood. The request is to rezone it from M1, which is our manufacturing and industrial district, to C2, which is our general commercial district. This district does allow for residential to be placed on it as opposed to M1, which does not allow any residential. The adjoining lots are M1 there to the north and across the street, and R15, which is a subdivision in there behind it, and fronting on Union Street just off the map there to the south. The applicant is interested, as I mentioned, in developing this for residential purposes. There's some discrepancy on the lot size here. The GIS has it listed as just over 17,000 square feet. However, when it was surveyed, surveyor seems to indicate that the lot is slightly larger than this. I'll let Kirk address this in his comments, but the rezoning analysis is going to be based on the size of the lot as is presented on GIS currently. The potential uses and size requirements for the properties as a single-family home would be 8,000 square feet with 70 feet of road frontage, and a duplex is going to need 12,000 square feet to be able to be placed on that lot. The restrictions and issues currently proposed for this lot is water is available, but sewer is a little bit of an issue. We do not have a sewer line there available for this property on Providence Mill Road. They would need to access it from behind Brookwood in the subdivision there. They're working on an agreement to access the sewer. The planning board did recommend approval of this rezoning. And the board is required to, the council is required to consider a few items. One is whether or not it meets the state laws and regulations, and that it does. The others is whether or not this is consistent with our long-range plan. It's not inconsistent with the plan. The areas in this along Providence Mill Road do show this as being commercial and residential. The proposed amendment could be supplied by the utilities in the area. However, there are some restrictions, as I mentioned, and the last is whether or not it's beneficial to the public health, safety, and welfare, and in the public interest. This would provide for more residential in the area and further investment on this lot. We received one inquiry regarding what was going to be done with the property, but no one speaking against. I'll take any questions at this time.
Sewer line access, is that owned by Brookwood?
It is. So, if you see the GIS, it's actually fairly accurate on the Brookwood side, and the corner of their parking lot is actually infringing on this lot. So what we've agreed with Brian is to give him some property so that his full parking lot is on his property in exchange for an easement to get to the sewer in the back, and we're gonna have that on both deeds, and that'll be taken care of. So I think we're giving him 12 foot on the front corner, just kind of straightening that line up, and that gets it just past, there's a telephone pole, some bushes there. So we're gonna donate that property to him, and then he's gonna give us an easement to access that sewer in the back.
And that sewer line will accommodate duplex? Good.
Council may be aware, sewer easements are pretty common. I've got one on in my property as well, in town.
Anybody have any questions? Would you like to say anything before we close the public hearing? Public hearing is now closed. Okay, ordinances and resolutions. 10A is the ordinance 2022-2024, an ordinance to amend the Town of Maiden zoning maps for Kirk Wentz.
I make a motion, we approve ordinance 22-2024.
Now have a motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. That motion is carried unanimous. B, ordinance 23-2024, an ordinance to amend the fiscal year 2023-2024 budget in the general fund, community activities.
The town has received a $1,500 grant from the United Arts Council of Catawba County. These funds we have gotten, I believe, 3 years in a row now to go toward the activities for our Juneteenth celebration. So this would just need to be approved to bring those in and expend them.
I move we approve ordinance 23-2024.
I have a motion
Second?
and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. That motion is carried unanimous. Resolution 16-2024, administration of minimal and overpayment of valorem taxes.
Yes, so in the agreement with Catawba County, we said you have to set a minimum and a maximum. So the minimum would be $5, the maximum would be $15. So basically, in layman terms, they won't charge you late fees if you're less than $5, but they also will not mail you a check if you overpay them less than $15. The thinking about this is it takes more time, more cost to the city, more cost to the county to do that. They can always just get a credit or an additional charge on next year's bill.
When I read this, I had a chuckle. Baptist Hospital sent my wife a refund for 21 cents.
Cost more to send it, didn't it?
It's crazy.
Not yet, she hadn't cashed it, you asked me that the other day.
That's not worth the trip to the bank. I move we approve resolution 16-2024.
Have a motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. That motion is carried unanimous. Resolution 17-2024, donation of surplus property.
So in the auction, when we listed the things, one of the things was a old field marker for the rec use for the fields, that it works, but if you're lining off 4 fields twice a night, it don't work great, okay? If you're doing something once a year, it's not that big a deal. We was asked by Tuttle School, elementary school, to donate it to their PE department for the field day. So I made an administrative decision to pull it out of the auction, and then we went through the legal process of donating, which, per our attorney, the last step is for you to approve this resolution to do so.
Make a motion that we approve resolution number 17, 2024.
Have a motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion is carried, unanimous. Resolution 18-2024, a resolution of achievement for Sherry Griffin.
So Sherry, most people know her Sherry Long. She actually married Andy Griffin, I kid you not, and now her name is Sherry Griffin. I'm not joking, his name's really Andy Griffin. Anyway, she has done a lot for the town. I believe she started working in 1986. The numbers of total investment to the town of Maiden would be over $100 million. Now, we didn't get $100 million in grants. We got $100 million investment off the grants that she was able to get us. I do not believe that includes Apple, which she helped us secure a sewer line grant. For those that don't remember, 16 years ago, we had to put a sewer line in to make Apple project work. It was $500,000 or $600,000, and it could have been $20 million for us at that time because we didn't have it. And so Sherry and the Catawba County EDC and the staff here worked to got an additional grant for that that paid 100% of it. So if you combine that in that million turns into $1 billion real quick. So she's done a lot for the town. She's retiring, and we wish her well. And I believe her retirement party is going to be May the 23rd. We will have staff there if council wishes to attend. We will be presenting her a signed copy and framed of this resolution, as well as a small gift from the town of Maiden.
And she's a very sweet lady too, so
She's
just
a
add that
mile
in there. Yeah. So I move that we approve resolution 18-2024.
Have a motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion is carried, unanimous. Resolution 19-2024, to oppose the City of Charlotte interbasin transfer request.
All right, so I'm gonna give a high level of what's going on. The City of Charlotte and the Charlotte Water Authority has requested an amendment to their interbasin transfer. So currently, right now, they are approved to take out 33 million gallons of water out of the Catawba Basin, use it for their customers, which includes 6 other cities. It's not just the City of Charlotte. It is Huntersville. I'm not gonna try to name them all because I will miss one, but it's Mecklenburg County mainly, over 1 million people. And then discharge it through a wastewater treatment plant. But when they discharge it, it goes back into the Rocky River, which ends up in the Yadkin PD. Which most people are like, well, that's below us, what do we care? Well, during drought conditions, everybody gets put under restrictions along the entire ribbon basin. So if they're taking 30 million gallons out and not putting it in, that's 30 million gallons downstream that gets pretty much divided up by everybody on the river basin. So it can drastically affect us in times of drought. It could also affect us as a region as we grow. That's less water that we can take out of the river. We've been asked to oppose it. I attended a meeting up in Hickory. It was very well attended. At the end of the day, this is the cheapest option for Charlotte Water. This doesn't allow them to take more water out. They can take more water out. They're just not putting it back in. So if they built a wastewater treatment plant on the Catawba, or they built lift stations to pump it back over, we wouldn't really have that much problem with it. But the problem is, this is for them to save money. And at the cost of our citizens in our region, in the cities within our region. I mean, just to be blunt, we shouldn't subsidize Charlotte Water, at the end of the day. And so, staff and, every city that has had this thus far has approved it, and now staff asks this council to approve it as well. I will say that, it's kind of serendipitous, I guess you could say. Wanda is actually from the town of Camden, and the next meeting for South Carolina will be there. So she will be attending as a citizen of South Carolina and a member of this region to speak against it on our behalf as well, so.
What, didn't they wanna raise it from 33 million gallons to 63 million?
Yeah, they're asking for an additional 30 million gallons. I will say, the last time they got this, it was supposed to last something like 65 years, and I believe that was 15 years ago. So, at the end of the day, it's not a water issue, it's a budget issue. And I feel very strongly that we shouldn't subsidize another region's water customer.
So they have a plan B. This is just the easier plan.
I have no idea. I just know that,
There'll probably be a long, drawn-out court battle.
yeah, so in America, if one state sues another, it automatically goes to Supreme Court. I cannot see South Carolina not suing. The last time they sued, it ended up, being settled out of court with a settlement. I believe that was in 2002, I believe, yes. It's kind of funny. In 2007, I was on the other end of this argument when Concord Kannapolis did the same thing. I was in their region and was making the argument for it. I guess it depends on where you sit and where you live at. But right now, I'm against it. The staff's against it. Everybody in our region is against it, and we asked council to be against it as well.
We was at our mayor's meeting last week, and this was the topic that they talked about, so everybody at that meeting was on board to fight them.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, they're surrounded by water. That's what I don't understand.
Well, so, yes, they are surrounded by water, but their treatment facilities is on the other side of the ridge, which puts them in the Rocky River Basin, which goes into the Yadkin PD. So it's basically how the land flows. You can pump it back across the ridge, but that's a lot more expensive than going through this.
It's really not, it's not taking water out, it's actually putting water back in.
It's taking water out and putting it in a different location.
Yeah.
So that's the problem.
So I move we approve resolution 19-2024.
Have a motion?
Second.
And a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. That motion is carried unanimous. Number 11, budget presentation. Fiscal year 2024-2025 budget presentation.
So, I normally try to give you at least 2 weeks to have this budget presentation before I gave it to you. I believe y'all ended up with about 10 days. I do apologize for some of these numbers. And actually, a couple of them's changed since I sent it out. It's nothing major. We'll go through it before we get to the end of it. But you've had time. I've talked to several, not all of you about it. If you have any questions, stop me. I'm gonna go through it pretty quickly, because I do know we got a closed session after this. But again, if anybody has any questions, feel free to stop me and we'll go over them. I will say that this is a large budget, but most of it's operational, and the theme of it's gonna be inflation. Okay, I know. Okay, stop. Okay, so this is my 15th or 16th budget for the town of Maiden, and the budget objective has always been the same. Balance the constraints of the town's revenues with the town's responsibility to provide a quality municipal service at the lowest possible cost to the taxpayers of Maiden. I think we've achieved that pretty good. These are slides that y'all have seen multiple times. We're the lowest as far as tax rate. The average taxpayer in Maiden pays $2.31 a day to the town of Maiden for taxes. Recycling, we're lower than anybody in the county as well. Water and sewer, we're lower than everybody as well. Average cost, if you had a $225,000 home, 2 vehicles, the next closest city to us, cost of living is 15% higher. The largest is 48.3% higher than us. So you get services of Maiden cheaper than anywhere else in the county, and I would argue that our services is as good, if not better, than anybody in the county. You will see that inflation's hitting us pretty hard. It's came down from levels we saw in 2021. It's slightly higher than what we saw last year. We want to stay around the 2%. It's 3.5. A lot of people are like, well, what's 1.5%? Well, in the great scheme of things, it's a lot. And you'll see that as we go through this. You'll see that this is a map of the United States. The section of the United States that's getting hit the hardest by inflation is the Southeast and the Midwest. We're currently over 3.8% inflation as of, I believe this map was pulled in February. Where's inflation hitting? You'll see most of it's in things that we have no control over, and you're like, well, this doesn't really affect the town. Well, it does. Our largest cost is our employees and what they have to pay to live, and some of the things that we have to buy. Largest insurance, car insurance, rent, meals, housing. Those are things that you can't live without. You have to have. The things that are not inflation and deflating are rental cars, toys, airplanes, basically, things that a lot of those things you can live without if you have to. You got to have rent, you got to have meals, you got to have insurance. So that's what's driving all this right now. What is going to be in this budget? Our wholesale rate is what we pay for stuff. We're seeing a 10% decrease in the wholesale rate to electric, which is really good because as previous slides I've given you, I think a transformer is 350% higher than it was. So I've already had the question, well, we get 10% decrease in wholesale rate, can we lower our rates? Well, 10% decrease doesn't really add really well when your materials are going up an average of 200 to 300%. So this year I'm recommending holding steady and probably doing that for a couple of years, so because eventually we're going to have to start eating into our rate stabilization fund to keep our rates low. And there'll be a mixture of cutting, using our fund balance, and other things to keep our rates where they're at. I will say I believe we've had the same rates in electric for 12 years now. I think that's correct. And that was after an 8% decrease. Now, you gotta give the bad news with the good news. The first few years I was here, me and Matt suffered through it. I think we averaged 5 to 6% for 5 years in a row. If you do the math, that's about a 30% increase over 5 years, and it hurt. It hurt bad. So I remember the first year we raised it 3.5%. Everybody thought I was a hero because it wasn't 5 or 6. So we've came a long way since those days. Wholesale water rates going up 5% from the city of Hickory again. Cost of materials, cost of chemicals, stuff to treat water, stuff to treat sewer is increasing at an all-time high. Just material, prime example, we had a fire hydrant get hit a couple weeks ago. The invoice for that thing was over $10,000 by the time we got done. It hasn't been that long ago that we had a standing practice that if a fire hydrant got hit, we billed the insurance something like $400, $500, $600. So that's how different it is now than it was just a few short years ago. Republic Service, us, Claremont, Newton, Longview, and Catawba all went in negotiations. I don't know if all of them is going to sign the agreement or not, but we got a uniform price for the contract. It's going to be somewhere between 8 and 10 years, which is a long term, which is great. And the increase will be based off of consumer price index over that time. But if we agree to the contract, which I highly agree we do, our Republic Services cost will be $18.17 per house. Now, that's not what we're going to charge citizens. That's what we pay. That is a little bit higher than it used to be, but also got to realize it does include it's tipping fees, but they got a name for it. It's not tipping fees, it's,
I call it $2 fees, what we pay to the landfill.
yeah, so right now, how it works is they go through town, they pick up all our trash, they drive straight from our town, straight to the dump. Whether the truck is full or if it's got 1/10 of the truck in it, that's what they do. And then we get charged fuel and tipping fees for that. Under this new contract, they will take the liability of that. They run through town and then they might hit 2 or 3, 4 neighborhoods until the truck is full before they take it to the dump truck. You see what I'm saying? So all that's included and we don't have to worry about, it's a set fee. So right now, we know how much we're gonna pay them. We do not know how much our tipping fees are gonna be. And again, it's not a tipping fee, it's something else. I cannot think of the name of it right now to save my life. And fuel is gonna be. This is more stable. It costs a little bit more money, but we know exactly what we're dealing with all year long, you know? Unless something happens as far as the fuel adjustment's gonna happen, recycling's gonna happen, but for the most part, it limits our liabilities as much as possible. And
So
employees,
it is all in, that's it, right?
yeah, I mean, again, there is a fuel adjustment rider that can hit
Right.
and stuff like that, but for the most part, yes.
Okay.
Going this route, Todd, wasn't we're actually projected it to be higher per household? about
Yes.
3 years ago, but
Yes,
it's up
we
in
pro-
the $19-20 range.
It was gonna be $19, then 20 and a half, it was gonna get up to $22. So,
This is actually better off.
yes,
for this
now,
agreement.
under our current agreement that's expiring this year, it was a flat 3.5% increase every year. They will not do that anymore because, I mean, they've seen some high increases. So what they're proposing, and I mean, I think it's fair and it protects both entities, is they will look at the CIP, Consumer Price Index, for January or December, whichever month we choose, and we'll know 6 months in advance what our next contract's gonna be.
So their contract's on a calendar year, not coincide
Well,
with our year.
Their rate will be, the contract will be from July to June, but we will know 6 months in advance what that bill will be come July 1.
Okay.
And we want a long-term contract because their equipment, the life of equipment is between 8 and 10 years. We want our contract to match that, so therefore, they don't put capital back in the contract mid-year. So whatever that truck costs, we want them to diversify that over the length of the contract, not a short. So if we did a 5-year, we're still gonna pay for that truck, but we're only gonna pay for it in 5 years instead of 8 or 10. Does that make sense? So what we negotiated was a longer-term contract than we currently have. These are all things we asked for last time, and they really didn't want to do. I mean, and so we was able to get them in this time. Employees' health insurance went up 9.9%. I believe it was started out at 18.9, so we was able to negotiate it down to 9.9. That was hard. And Dwayne did a great job for us, Audrey did a great job for us, but that's something that you see every city's talking about how much health insurance is going up. Major questions or recommendations for the current budget. Property tax will not see an increase. I will tell you that there's already been a budget meeting for another city in the county, and they've already recommended a 10-cent tax increase. Well, they recommended 11.5. They're looking at maybe doing a 10-cent. So property tax will stay the same, electric rates will stay the same, water rates will see a 83-cent increase to the base, a 4.5-cent increase to the usage. Sewer will see a $1.08 increase to the base, that's a 5.5% increase to the uses. I will tell you right now, that's not enough, but I think it's sufficient if we can cut some other things and massage some other things to get us through this year, and hopefully inflation levels off and we can come up with a long-term plan. You can't hit somebody with a 20 to 25% increase in water and sewer. The customers, it really doesn't, the homeowners, it really doesn't affect that much. I mean, you're looking at, you're going up 10% water and sewer and almost $2 to the base, and the average customer is only going to see a $1.90 a month increase to their entire bill. That's for water, sewer, electric, and trash. I mean, that's less than a bottle of water I just drunk at Dice. But your industrial customers, and commercial customers that employ people, they use a lot more water, so a 4 or 5% increase to them is significant. So we gotta balance that out and make it work. And so I feel comfortable that this does that. I will tell you that I foresee water and sewer rates for the foreseeable future, but I think we can mitigate those to be around 3 to 5% every year instead of the 10 or 20% some cities are seeing. And that's because we have such strong fund balances and such strong other funds that we use for things.
Percentage-wise, Todd, guesstimation, how many of our residential customers use over 3,000 gallons? Guesstimation.
I would hate to guess. I will tell you, I got 5 people that live in my house. I got 3 women and 2 guys, and I average about 3,800. So it's not much more than that.
Okay.
And there's not a night that goes by that we don't wash clothes. Sometimes 2 or 3 times. So I don't think it's a whole lot, but I couldn't say up here and say with confidence what that is.
So you were talking about doing things to mitigate. Can you just give some examples, just so people understand what we're doing to?
Yeah, so, like one example is like, we changed the salary breakdown for all the employees, and we took as much out of the water and sewer department as we could and put in general fund and electric. That was justified. Now, you can't just move everything. You gotta be able to justify some of that stuff. Some projects that we really, was looking at doing, we kind of postponed. Extending water lines, we kind of postponed that. Extending sewer lines, we postponed that. We're taking the approach right now, if we can't get a grant for it, we're gonna maintain what we got. That, and we're always looking ways to become more efficient, in there. They really need another employee. I mean, they really need one. The approach we're gonna take is we're gonna try to cross-train some other people from other departments to get by for another year. I will tell you that I don't think that's a long-term solution, but I think it's something we're gonna try this year and see how it works.
Thank you.
Yes. Employee benefits, 3% COLA up to a 3% merit. It'll be the final step in the 5% 401k match, and then salary increases for police and fire to bring them up competitive pay with other cities around us. The tax base for 24-25 is $2.5 billion. The breakdown of that is commercial makes 5% of that, industrial makes 84% of that, and residential makes 11% of that. That is just one line item in the budget, though. That's the property tax line item. Again, talking about the salary breakdown, you can see it here. This is how the salary breakdown will be positioned for each fund for 24-25. For general fund, for total budget, operating budget is just over $26 million for 24-25. That includes a $14 million general fund, an $8.8 million electric fund, and a $3.3 million water and sewer fund. As you know, we sold some power generation as a group, as a North Carolina Power HC1. We sold some power generation, and that lowered a lot of things. First of all, our decommission amount that we have to pay, plus we're gaining revenue over it. So as a group, we voted to lower our working capital, which means that the town of Maiden will get $1.5 million. Man, my numbers are starting to run together. It's over $1 million. I want to say it's 1.5. It might be 1.4, 1.6, but it's around $1.5 million. That is not included in this budget, and I'll tell you why. We get a credit on it in our July bill. Every year, and including this year, we come back to you in May or June or July and be like, we need 2 things. We gotta up what we buy from power, and we gotta up what we buy for water for resale. I think we're gonna have to do that this year, correct? We wanna hold off until next year, and instead of coming to you and say, we gotta up what we're spending, we wanna lower what we spend, you know what I mean? So you will get a budget amendment in the May, June of next year to put more money back into the rate stabilization fund. Well over $1 million, most likely, depending on how much things go. And then that rate, as you know, rate stabilization fund really can't be touched for anything other than to help offset rate increases. So 4, 5, 6 years down the road, when we're in a different climate and you know, just general inflation has caught up with rate increases, we will be able to offset those with that 1 point whatever million. I think we have 1.2 in there now, so we'll have well over $2 million set aside for future. So as you can go out and tell your customers, your constituents, our citizens, our customers, that our electric rates, unless an act of God happens, should not increase for the foreseeable future. So we've already done it 12 years. If we can make another 8, I don't know of a city in North Carolina, I don't know of a city in the United States that has not raised their electric rates in 20 years. So that's a strong statement. That's extremely strong. And if we operate that way, we'll be able to do that. The highlights for general fund, which is Fund 10, the incentive payment for Apple is $4.5 million, which is by far our largest expenditure. However, you gotta realize they pay in way more than that in taxes. The final year of the GKN incentive, which is the lowest we've ever paid, is $39,000. Contributions to EDC is $55,000, and community activities is $90,000. Administrative, you will also see we've increased training for all staff members. The reason for that is a class that we used to take that was $400 is now $1,000. Inflation's hitting everybody, so even training that we have to take, most of it's mandated to keep our certifications up. Finance, increasing training, increasing technology for recruitment, and increasing contracted services. General fund, 10, IT, training, contracted services, increase for non-capital outlays such as Markey? How do you say that? Meraki. Licensing, I know it was our licensing. Replacing some old switches. We're going to continue to do change out the fobs throughout town, get rid of the hard keys. And people, I think we save money by doing this. Used to, before we had this system, take me for example, I have a Grandmaster key. If I was to lose that key, that key was $5,000 or $6,000 to rekey every lock in town. Now, if I lose my fob, they hit a button, reissue me another one, we're out 35, 45 cents. So eventually our goal is to have every, you're going to always have a hard key in case something happens, but most of the employees will have these fobs that, and also if an employee quits or is terminated, that's one less thing that we have to worry about as well as theft. And replacing the old server. There's some more stuff, but that's the highlights. Planning and zoning, I love Blake. He came in my office during budget season. You could tell he's a little nervous, and he had to increase the line $300, and he was a little nervous about it. It was kind of funny. But we've increased lot cleanup for, again, it costs more money to clean stuff up. Town hall, this is the first real thing in the budget for capital. If you walk down the other hallway, no matter who walks down, it's squeaking. We've had somebody come out and look. The glue that holds the tile is gone. This building is starting to show its age. I think it's a little bit over 13 years old now. We looked at doing the tile back, and we are looking at doing a laminate floor replacement, which should last longer and look better. And I want to say the estimate got about $26,000. We put a little bit in there in case something happens. And I am not going to pick the color. That's going to be to somebody else. So, police, increase in training, increase in animal control. Animal control went up $2,500. It's now a little bit over $30,000 for animal control that we pay the county. And then 2 fully equipped police vehicles, which is $145,000 for 2 vehicles. That comes everything. Yes, everything. So stripe, everything. Fire, new radios for all firefighters, $100,000 for that. We also will have 10 full-time firefighters, including the chief, and we're planning on applying for a SAFER grant for an assistant chief position that will be activated in the next fiscal year. I will say that I got good news today that we requested $95,000 in additional funding from the county. Not just 1 year, but going forward. It has been approved at the staff level. The commissioners will vote on it with their budget, but it seems favorable that that will occur. So that will offset some of the cost of the full-time employees that we did not get the grant for. Garage, tire changer, $15,000, Freon machine, $9,000, and then the land that we bought, that backs up, we sold them as part of the, purchase that we put up a fence and some trees. There's money in the garage for that. Street department, we're replacing 405 feet of sidewalk on North Carolina Avenue and 510 feet on North Main at a cost of $50,000. We're also recommending to update our paving study, because the last one is 10 or 12 years old, things change. We're also looking at sealing and striping the town hall and veterans parking lots. If you look outside, especially in the staff parking lot, the lines are disappearing and the pavement's starting to crack a little bit. To save the pavement, we can seal it. Same thing's happening at the parking lot at Veterans Memorial. And the parking lot at Municipal Park, to repave that entire parking lot at $20,000. POW bill will be contingent on what the paving study says. Our goal, now this is our goal, is to get an RFQ out as soon as the budget is approved and try to get the paving study done before Thanksgiving or Christmas. And then once we have the ones that need to get paved, we'll start with the highest on the list and pave $141,000. If that's one street, if that's 5 streets, whatever we can get done, going from the top of the list down. The reason why we do a paving study is it takes politics and friendships out of it, okay? I lived on North 9th Avenue and my neighbors begged for curbing. They needed it, but me as town manager, I couldn't justify it. Once we moved off, we did it. This right here is coming from experts in the field that does not live in Catawba County. I think the last time we used somebody, it was either from Asheville or Waynesville, a retired DOT engineer that started a company doing this. And it's 100% based on need. That way, when somebody approaches you and says, my road needs to be paved, you can look at them and give them an honest answer is, I can find out where you're on the list. And when they come up with, how did that list come up with, you can tell them it was by an expert engineer that has no ties to the town of Maiden. So I think that's the best way to handle it.
I have a question about that.
Yes.
So previous paving studies and people that are down on the list, okay, a street, I don't know, 21 on the list, they've never got to in this last paving study. So when this one comes, they might move down to 40. I mean, I'm just saying.
Yeah, but the number 21 or number 40 might move up to 5, and it will be based off of current conditions.
Okay.
Because realistically, it depends on how much travel's on the road. It also depends on, the chemical makeup of the asphalt when they put it down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it takes all of that out of it is current conditions 100% that drive it. It's nothing else but.
Because I still hear people talk about that number.
Yep.
You know, they talk about their number, where they're at.
But at the end of the day, we have 28 miles. I'm looking at you. We have almost 30 miles of paved road in the town. There's no way for us to pave and I will stand up here and say, I will put our roads, I will put our worst road against most cities' worst road in the state.
I don't disagree.
We do really good. Everybody wants their road paved. I want my road paved, Everybody wants, but at the end of the day, you gotta rely on experts that know this stuff, that says this is the best road to pave at this time. And then contract sanitation, again, that's $18.17 per household. I think we currently charge $8.12. I think that's what it is. That's recommended to stay the same. So we're subsidizing a little bit over $10. Now, that's just for your trash and recycle. That doesn't include what we subsidize for anything you put at the road. Like if you put a TV at the road, we pick it up. You put a washing machine at the road, we pick limbs. That $10 that we subsidize, that don't count that. So if you count all that in there, we're probably subsidizing closer to $15 or $16 a household. Parks and Rec, they need a new mower, and then, I put this in here every year just because people asked about it. We try to rotate where we put the fall-safe material. We used to just do it every 3 or 4 years and do all the parks at one time. That is a labor-intensive 2-week, 3-week project. So what we do now is I think we rotate 3 parks or back and forth. Yeah, so we're doing Rosenwald Park and Union Street Park this year, $8,500. They will have it's not sawdust, but it kind of looks like sawdust. The wood chips out there that, that we put in there. We've been requested, council has requested this, we've got money in there for a double pickleball court at Union Street Park. And the reason we picked Union Street Park is when we took the old playground equipment, there's already a flat surface, there's no grading involved. Resurfacing the basketball courts at Rosenwald and Union Street Parks. We've had several requests about the Rosenwald Park and Union Street. They hold water when it rains. Nothing is 100% level. We're gonna resurface them and do the best we can and make it as flat as possible. But over playing time, stuff gets wore down. So if we resurface them and we get 1.5 inches of rain and we have a puddle out there, that's nature. There's nothing we can do about that. Resurfacing the splash pad. Right now we resurface it about every 3 years. This company says if you put this down, it will last much longer, so it'd be best value for the buck. And the playground equipment at Union Street and at Rosenwald, we're going to try to replace some of the old playground equipment. This will be for ages 2 to 5-year-olds, so it's the smaller kids stuff. $60,500. You did see that right. A playground costs $30,000. Yes. AC in the gym restrooms, $10,000. We will say that. What did you tell me today? What day?
So we are currently working on getting AC in the gymnasium.
Yes.
This is not the gymnasium, this is the restrooms, this is the small unit.
Yeah.
That was in this current budget, they started that project this week.
Yes. So
Gymnasium.
the basketball gym will be shut down end of the month for a few weeks while they put AC in there. And then after all that's said and done, we will rescreen and refinish the gym floor. We do that about every 3 to 4 years. You'll get complaints, people running down, the floor's slippery, they can't stop. Well, after you play on it enough times, that happens, so we resurface it about every 3 to 4 years.
In our planning session, we had talked about some of the current, like the softball, the baseball fields that are also used for soccer and multiple other things about just kind of the condition of those and working on those. Is that included in this, or is that something that we've already started on?
So we try to focus on one field a year. I believe we did field 4, field 1, field 3 last year. We're also looking at the possibility of purchasing some land. And so if we was able to do that, that would change the cycle. They would not be needed done as much. They wouldn't need to be done as often. And soccer, we're also, as part of the new elementary school, where the current cafeteria sits, when they tear that down and put land back, there's going to be 2 soccer fields built there. So we're hoping that will alleviate the need to play soccer on our current baseball fields, and that changes how we grade and how we maintain and how we do all that. So we really don't want to go out and spend $5,000 on a field just to go back and have to change the approach we take.
No, I understand. I know it's been a concern, so I just wanted to address it openly.
Yes, ma'am. Cemetery, no meaningful changes, and then debt service, you see what we would pay on the fire department coming up. Electrical, we have roughly 1,300 total customers. You can see the breakdown. Most of them are residential. We have 13 that live outside of town. Most of them are inside. Rate stabilization is $1.2 million. Again, at the end of next year's budget, that number will be much higher. Excuse me. And then the total budget is around $8.8 million. Total operational budget is 7.6, but most of that's by purchasing power. Actually run the department's 3.2 million, which is pretty, in all scheme of things, that's pretty tight number right there for, what we provide. Especially, I make a joke, and if it says fire, police, or electric, triple the price of the shirt. So, anything that has those three things on it, you can't go out and just buy regular stuff. They have to be specialized because of the conditions they work in. So anytime, especially electric, man, anytime they deal with stuff, the price tag goes through the roof. Ownership of North Carolina Power HC1, we own 1.2891% of Catawba Nuclear Plant. If any of y'all ever want to tour the Catawba Nuclear Plant as an elected official, we can set that up. I do not feel the need to go down there, but if you want to do it, we can set that up. Addie and Kevin and Brian can make that happen. So, we own, of the debt, we owe $6.8 million in the debt as part of the North Carolina Power HC1. Our debt was reduced by $757,000 last year, which is a huge decrease. Breakdown of electric, 66.35% of our revenues come from industrial. The majority of that comes from GKN. And then residential makes up just a little bit over 19%, and commercial makes up a little bit over 14%. The highlights for electrical position is, electrical fund is, section power purchases, of course, is the highest, 4.3 million. And then system operations, 3.2. Involved in that 3.2 is we've got funds for additional linemen. That's if we can find one. And the reason for that is OSHA has changed some of the rules. And currently, if the voltage is a certain number, and I don't know what that number is, but Brian can answer if you know it, you have to have 2 crews to operate on it. We have 5 linemen, so you can't get 2 crews of 3 out of 5. So we have to contract it out. Well, we pay our linemen $35, $40 an hour. Contractors pay their linemen $80, $90 an hour, and then add 40% onto that and then bill us for it. So now we don't have a whole lot of those places, but we do have enough that it affects our budget when we have to work on it. So if we can find the appropriate linemen, we want to hire them. They're kind of like unicorns right now because, again, we pay about 50 to 60% less than contractors. But for the most part, our linemen sleep in their bed at night. Contractors sometimes don't. So we had those storms come through Gaston County, and I was going down 85, and I saw linemen from Alabama out there working. So there's some give and take there. Underground thumper, that is to find fault in the underground lines, $25,000. Wire change out, $50,000. Copper replacement of circuit A1, 1A, $75,000. Squirrel guard of circuit 1A is $35,000. I would estimate that over 60 to 70% of our outages are due to squirrels. Probably 80% of our blinks are due to squirrels. So anything we can do to lessen that, we want to do. SCADA upgrades for $130,000. We got a 60-foot working bucket truck in here for $300,000. That's us getting in line. I'm telling you right now, unless something really, 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 really strange happens, we will not spend this money this year. But we're getting in line to get it, and it'll probably take 24 to 36 months before we get that. This is the second truck. We already have one that we're in line for. And then we're replacing a 1998 tractor. We're dividing it between electric, water, and sewer equally. So you see 1/3 of the cab tractor at $20,000 at $60,000 total.
Question. So when you talk about getting in line for a bucket truck, are there other departments that we need to look at this on, like fire? You know, because I understand the turnaround time to get could be a year, 2, 3, depending on what you're asking for. And I don't recall seeing any in fire for getting in line for trucks. Is that something that we should consider?
I mean, we can look at that. We do have agreements if the Department of Insurance requires certain trucks, we do have agreements with certain entities that they will pay for it, not us.
Okay.
Water and sewer, Fund 35, we have 2,200 water customers, 1,700 sewer customers. You can see the breakdown. Water is 1.6 million, sewer's 850,000, 860,000. Wastewater treatment is 750,000, and debt's 81,000 to make up the total of 3.3 million. You can see the breakdown of this. Unlike electrical, industrial is only 50% of this makeup. Residential makes up 45.4, and then commercial makes up 4.5% of this. And that's because our largest water customer treats most of their own sewer. Water is 1.6 million. We're buying $546,000 from Hickory for resale. That is our best guess. We've missed that the last couple of years. Sometimes we come over, sometimes we come under. That has a lot of variables in it. It's how much we sell, how many leaks we have. There was 1 year, we ended up having to go in and change, do budget amendments for overtime, material, and water resale because it was so cold that winter. We had something like 30 or 40 leaks in 2 months. So there's a lot of variables that go into that. But that's our best guess right now. Hickory water plant capacity is 123,000. That's a set figure. That won't change. A ground penetrating radar locator. When you go down the road and you see all these lines on the road, this is what we use for finding water lines, 17,000, and then they're part of the tractor replacement. Sewer is 860,000. Rate Duke Power, Duke Energy. I put Duke Power, it should be Duke Energy. Had a rate increase. Most of our pump stations are outside of our electrical service area. And so we have to pay Duke Energy for the electricity. We're estimating a $2,100 increase to what we already paid for that. In that, engineering for Carolina Mills outfall line, plans only is $40,000. If some of you that's new may not remember this, some of you that's been on here a while remember, I don't know how long ago, it's been a long time. We extended a sewer line down 321 from Carolina Non-Woven. It was a 12-inch line. Somebody put a 12-inch line into a 12-inch line with another 12-inch line. So we have two 12-inch lines going into a 12-inch line. So everything north of J&L is flowing down, everything south of J&L is flowing down into a connection, and then a 12-inch line is going across the field to our sewer plant. We want to see how much that's going to cost to replace that 12-inch going from the connector to the wastewater treatment plant. It has worked really well for all these years. However, as time has gone, things settle. Things don't stay flat, don't stay level, and we're going to have to replace that line at some point because of its age. We want to see how much it's going to cost to replace it and how much it's going to cost to upsize it so that 30 years from now we don't have a problem with those two 12s feeding that. I'm thinking it's probably going to be at least a 30 or 36 inch line. And then their size of their 98 tractor. Going back to the fall outlet line, it's not to capacity yet, but planning now to save in the future is what we're looking at. And then, and for the wastewater treatment plant, the only real thing is their maintenance shop where they do a lot of work on the pumps and stuff. It's a metal building. It does not have air conditioning. It does not have insulation. And if you go in there in August, you will not stay very long. So we're looking at insulating the maintenance shop for them to cool them down. Eventually, we're hoping to get AC in there, but if we can squeeze it out of this 15,000, we're going to do it. If not, it'll probably be in next year's budget. That's all I have. I will answer any questions that the council may have at this point. If you do not have any, this will be brought, the full budget will be brought back to you at the June meeting for approval. Okay, thank y'all.
Thank you. You need a motion to go into closed session.
Yep.
So moved.
Got a motion?
Second.
Second? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no.